G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here with the first video in the third attempt to make a laminated helical pitch wooden propeller with which to adorn the electric motor run by the Peltier effect device. As explained in previous videos, this thing not only has reverse helical pitch, it's got negative camber on the inside half of the radius. So it shears the air in two different directions at several different air speeds and wastes a lot of power. Both of these are correctly helically pitched, so they smoothly engage an 8-inch column of air and shift it forwards as one coherent block. This one has a tip tracking error, but the hub runs true. Also, one blade tip is the correct aerofoil section, the other one is too thick due to manufacturing errors on my part. However, it shifts about 180 cubic feet of air per minute, and it runs at 360 to 400 revs per minute. This one, I managed to cure the incipient tip tracking error, which I had been building into it. However, that came at the cost of giving it a horrible hub wobble. So it probably does 170 cubic feet per minute. Mainly, I think, because this high lift aerofoil section designed by Irv Culver for a foot-launched hang glider produces a more turbulent downwash than does the Warbles on a lot TLAR, or that looks about right aerofoil, which I sort of drew up off the top of my own head. So, Warbles on a lot general purpose TLAR aerofoil works pretty well. The fabrication somewhat lacking in skill set, but we'll work on that. Airscrew the second proves that it's not necessarily correct to go with your intuition. You would have thought a low speed high lift aerofoil would be good in this application, but it turns out it wastes power generating turbulence from the leading edge. So next we go the other way. First try, second try, third try. A low drag, tangential cylindrical, laminar flow, traditional Australian Aboriginal Boomerang aerofoil. There's this, 12.5% thick, 5% camber, max thickness, maximum camber at 30% chord. This 15% thick, 15% chord is where the thickness, maximum camber is. 8.8% camber. Thick and blunt with all of its curvature up at the front. Here, 10% thick, 5% camber, maximum thickness and maximum camber at 50% chord. Which brings me to a very interesting point. This will work as a propeller or as a turbine. The tangential cylindrical laminar flow aerofoil is symmetrical with regard to its leading and trailing edges. So there's the thing. Drawing that bit of paper took an hour, including sawing the 4 blanks. Damn me, I got that wrong. Drawing on the wood, 40 minutes. Jigsaw the planks, 15 minutes. File the planks true, 1 hour, because you have to draw the centre lines on them and draw the outlines on them before you can cut them out of the plank. So, an hour to get the wood to that point. Hour and 45 minutes to plot those aerofoils onto the paper, starting from a clean sheet. Then, transferring the data from the paper to the wood. Took 40 minutes. So 2 hours and 35 minutes plus an hour to draw up the wood and cut it up. So we're looking at 3 hours and 35 minutes to get the paper plans drawn, the wood cut into planks, and the lamination lines drawn onto the planks, which have already been pin balanced to alternate the light and heavy ends at the blade tips, as mentioned in an earlier video. Right, now, because I've had some success at making pipes in the past, I flattered myself with thinking that I was pretty good at drilling a straight hole. However, when I watched the video that I shot during the episode titled, I think, Knowing Where to Start on the Propeller Carving series, rewatching that, I discovered the error of my assumptions. So I decided my inability to drill a straight hole through the center of the planks, that's the greatest weak point to failure in this process. So therefore, thus and because, going to a drill press, perhaps. But I don't really think that thing is going to be particularly greatly more accurate than me trying to drill it by hand. So, yes, we went and visited the hardware shop. And for less money than you'd think, I was able to acquire a 250 watt, 50mm drill press. And that was how I corrected the tip tracking error on the Black Oak and Radiata Pine propeller. But in curing the tip tracking error by packing the tips and getting the whole thing lined up and then drilling a shaft that was perpendicular to the tips, I made the hub wobble. So this time the idea is to drill accurate holes from the beginning. Now we start the generator to make the juiciness with which to run the drill press. Okay, so that'll now come up to speed. If we just give it a little bit of time. And so we log the engine start time while building a cup of coffee for lunch and waiting for the oil temperature to rise and the electricities to flow. Make haste slowly, eh? Isn't that what they say? Funny that phase change with the sound, isn't it? So, having manually marked the centres, it is now time. I had to go and sit down and drink coffee for half an hour to wait for the sun to get onto it for that particular shot. We'll see how we go. Having made sure that I've got enough height, positioned it, lamination number 4. these 4 holes. If I do nothing else with the machine. And currently they cost $45 each to drill. Well, I think it was money well spent. Those holes are centrally aligned far better than I could ever have done with a hand drill. And I'm pretty sure it took more time to carry the drill up here and clamp it down than it actually took to drill the holes. So yeah, shiny new toy number 2. And so those of you who've seen earlier videos will know that now it's time to jigsaw. So, I'll get back to you when this is done. Now for the twisty end. Helps if I plug it in, but at least it shows that I unplugged it before changing blades. Voila! Right, and I started the generator 1 hour ago. So we'll call it an hour to drill and saw the laminae. And those afflicted with sharpness of the eye will no doubt have noticed that lamination number 2, in fact, decided to split across the hub while one end was being sawn. So therefore it's already got a super glue repair on it. While lamination 3 has got a chip in the hub, but that'll be inside the glued lamination of the hub. So at this point, 4 hours 35 minutes. Plus about 15 minutes to set up and put the stuff away at the end of the day after having had me play. So, warbles on a lot to YouTube. There we go.